consider it, because so we can hear the music. We didn't orchestrate, but you feel like we're in an interesting space here, where the island and the lake, you can get this amazing postcard view of the skyline, and then you have like this great landform, which is gestated like in 5 years, right? Nothing was here before. And this space between the edge of the water and where I'm standing is what, maybe about 15 meters? It's not a lot of space. So I want you to imagine, and this is a very pointed remark, I want you to imagine a large building rising up here that's made entirely of glass. And so that basically captures the experience of what it'll be like on the other side, passing by the bulk of the Lorinc Canada site, okay, which is whose footprint is going to occupy most of the West Island. And experientially, it'll be a completely different experience than what this is. And some people might like that, and some people might not. But it's going to be very different. I just want to draw attention to the former mayor of Toronto, David Crombie, who's joined us. And who was, present at, when this was basically landfill, and he was running the city at the time. So the point about landscape here is that, Shawn and I are writers. The landscape is a little like grammar, right? You only notice it when it's gone wrong. And this is like a really well landscaped spot. The landscaping on the other side reveals the genius that Micallef had when he developed this space. It's the same ideas that informed the Olmsted's design of Central Park, where there are these layered vistas and you go around corners and you see different landscapes. And we're not really very far from the kind of the center of Ontario Place and the marina, but it feels like it's quite a long ways out, and that's because of the landscaping. And so so what's going to be critically important as this whole process goes on is to make sure that the landscaping, which is the way you articulate and ensure the public realm, is not overwhelmed by the parts of this redevelopment which are private, right? So let's say that they're private, because they're private, that you have to pay to get inside them, you have to buy stuff when you're inside them, they're not available just at any time of day. So there has to be a balance, right? And I don't believe, personally, this is my opinion, I don't believe we've achieved a balance in the proposal today. And the best way of really understanding that is to think about how much landscaping and what the landscaping will do and what it enables, right? Because the landscaping enables cycling, it enables people to gather and sit around a picnic table and have lunch and do all these things that are much more organic and rather than sort of commercial and structural.
Yeah, the landscaping as it was and as it is here, it allows people to kind of get lost in it, right? You find your own way. There's not one way of getting through Ontario Place. You find all these nooks and crannies and that sort of thing, which is, again, the genius of the place. And I think it's really actually good to have the festival going on right now. We thought maybe we should postpone it until next week, but then it's hard to tell everyone that. But it's kind of interesting because that footprint that we had to walk around to get here is probably a rough approximation of what the private things, those kind of spaceships that are going to settle down in here. So even when Ontario Place, the pods, and it might have different things in them, it was still a forest place that you could wander in and out. The footprint, as the plan is now, is just so big that the public parts, hopefully, would be just this little perimeter. So we'd be kind of stuck on the edge of this massive space. So I think we really get a sense of the public space giveaway by seeing the festival, which is totally fine. It's a temporary festival. People, thousands of people will enjoy themselves at Ontario Place. Maybe they will fall in love with the landscape themselves by being at the festival. That's fine, because they will pack it up tomorrow and it'll open up again, right? The things that are coming, that might be coming, will be a permanent, forever, so much more consideration
mentioned that the perimeter will still be open. That's my primary concern. When I show up and I want to cycle the perimeter as I go, is the idea that the perimeter will be
in the renderings that we've seen, they are. Oh, will the perimeter be open? In the renderings, and these things change maybe. It does look like it is. There's public access all the way around the edges. But like you said, like sometimes it closes. I've gone for runs here and get to the Cinesphere, and they're filming something on the West Island, and it says, turn around. And I'm like, no, I don't want to run back that way. I'm tired. And I stomp my feet and then I go back. But yeah, that sort of thing is maybe a little taste of what it will be like. The permanent thing comes in.
Yeah. Let me just add one thing to that, which is that, since the late 90s, we've been talking about waterfront revitalization all the way down and along here. And one of the key principles in the waterfront revitalization is to create space along the waterfront. Not a huge amount of space, which is sort of abandoned a lot of the year, but space that allows the public to participate in the waterfront. And then at the back of that space, you have you have the private sector buildings, restaurants, whatever. And I believe the Waterfront Toronto has done a pretty good job at finding that balance. There's no magic formula, but this needs to have a better balance. So there was a question.
Yeah, Simon Fogel, running for City Council in Davenport. I'd just like to echo that I'm not a big fan of the fact that this city seems to erase its past so readily. You kind of stick up a plaque or a photo and you say something used to be here, and there's no traces of it anymore. So I'm looking at the water slide tower and having a reminiscing of all the times I'd go down it as a kid and all that. And I think it would be a waste if the entire former structure, the former built form of Ontario Place, would just be leveled entirely. Is anybody here familiar with the city of Bethlehem, Pennsylvania? The steel mill there?
Steel town.
Yeah, Bethlehem Steel used to be one of the largest in the world. So they had a steel mill there, and as many steel mills happened, in the 90s it was decommissioned, it went bust. And so for years it was sitting empty. They had no idea what to do with it. It was just this massive infrastructure unused. And so eventually the city of Bethlehem decided to make it into a museum. So you can't go inside the steel mill because it's structurally unsound, but around the perimeter they have a series of walkways and plaques and public spaces that tell you all about the history of the place, and you can see just the sheer scale of it. And around there they have an event space, they have a number of various markets and whatnot. And this is a small city of about 100,000 people, and they've made it into a local destination, and it's helped to revitalize the local economy. So I think if Toronto, and with Ontario Place especially, were to do something like that with what used to be the amusement park, it would be a great boon to our city. If we were able to to go around and see, okay, this is where the log flume was, this is where the water slides were, have a museum to the distant past of 2003 or so.
Okay, let's walk a little bit.